Hi, this is Vim Vigorous. I have here an adequate copy of Descartes' Meditations on First Philosophy. Now, Descartes pretended he didn't know whether or not he existed, and so as a kid, he would ask his buddies, "How do I know that I exist?" And of course, his buddies would say, "Listen to yourself talking. How do I know that I exist?" You're already presupposing yourself. And then he would say, "But how do I really know that I am?" He finally came up with a sort of catchphrase, "I think, therefore I am." It was the "what you talking about" of his generation. And he secured a teaching position. But in truth, as you guessed, he was a little dim and didn't get that much beyond just the fact that he existed, which everybody else pretty much presumed. "Well, yeah, but how do you know that I exist?" And they would say, "Well, I mean, we just sort of figure that you do." He got to teach something called philosophy, which is like a politically correct term for remedial education. And he had this class of kind of unruly, not too bright types, like the Sweathogs, if you remember from the 70s, Welcome Back, Kotter. They would talk about, well, how do I know that I'm here? And how do you know that I'm here? And what is this thing over there? And stuff that you kind of learn when you're a toddler. But he had some famous students in his class, a guy named Hume, who was known for just saying, really? How do you know that? Anyway, and then Descartes would go through a tedious explanation of how he knew MASH only ran 11 seasons. And then some people came along and they would say, "You may be thinking, but even if you are thinking, I don't think you're you." And then Descartes would say, "Well, who am I?" And they would say, "There is no me or you, they're just sort of things happening." And then somebody, Wittgenstein, aside from having a name that was extremely hard to pronounce, which made it so you really didn't want to call on him, he would say things like, "This is just a game," in German or whatever it was. And then Descartes, who, I don't know, he might have been French, would say, "What are you talking about? I don't understand German." And then Wittgenstein would say in German, "Precisely." Some other people would sort of pile on and say, "Well, these are just words. Words are just constructs," which means that like people make up words. You don't just find words on the street like you might find a pigeon. Someone would say, "Well, all we have is words." Then Descartes would say, "Well, wait a minute, what's this table doing over here?" And they would say, "Table, it's just a word. Table is a word." And then Descartes would say, "No, I didn't say that. What is the word table doing over here? I said, what is this table doing over here?" And they said, "No, we create our own meaning meaninglessly." And then other people started taking them to task for making sense. Why does your argument even make any sense? Shouldn't you just be talking in gobbledygook? And then some people did, just to prove it, start and they could have sort of settled on a blah. Like anytime Descartes would ask a question, it was like blah. I blah, therefore blah 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 blah. Blah. But the class was well attended anyway, because people care about grades. Kind of a touching story, a seriously mentally impaired person making his mark and mentally impairing the entire Western world. So you could buy this